Welcome to Stillworks and Brewing. My name is Randy. This is a channel that's all about home distillation and brewing. Okay, so what are we going to do today? We are going to make some apple pie whiskey. Not apple pie moonshine, not apple whiskey, not apple brandy, but kind of like a hybrid of all those. So let's get started. But first, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. There's a notification bell down there in the corner. Or not notification bell, there's a button down there in the corner. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. If you like what you see, hit that thumbs up. 4, share us with your friends, get the word out. And number 5, leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so what are we going to do today? I'm making this hybrid. In the past I've made some what I called pumpkin whiskey. I had some peach whiskey, and I did an apple whiskey, and this is going to be just a little bit different. I want to see how it's going to turn out. First, to me, an apple moonshine or an apple pie moonshine is where you got the apple pie spices and apple juice and all that stuff, and it's mixed with a neutral spirit, so it's like a moonshine. Of course, whiskey is a fermented grain mash, and brandy is a fermented fruit mash. Alright, so I'm kind of combining everything together, and it worked very well before, but I'm going to just try to do it a little bit different, and I want to see how it comes out. So what we'll be doing first is we're going to get our grains mashing in. So let me get some water heated up, and then we'll come back and get started on that. So I got my mash tun here, and I got my screen that goes into the bottom of it. And what we're going to do is, I got my water up to about 170 degrees. I got my hoses. I did run, like I said, I ran star sand through my hoses, through my pump, just to make sure everything is nice and clean. So I'm ready to start put some hot water in here. I'll put, I don't know, right around 3 gallons. So I had 3 gallons of 170 degree water in here, and I'm going to start mixing my grains in. I like to star sand everything. Alright, there's 3 gallons. I can always add more. So we'll mix this grain in. This is 10 pounds of 6-row. Like I said, that's 10 pounds 6-row. And then we got, I came from the scissors. Got 2 pounds of flake corn for some flavor. And then three pounds of rye. A little more water. Splatter me in the face. Okay. We need to check our temperature. Our target is right about 155, the high part of our scale. I might have to add a little bit of hot water to get to that point. I think I am. And I'm coming up to 140. Let's see what we got now. I added about another half a gallon, I guess. And we're coming up on, that's about 155. Nice. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll cover this up and we're going to give her, I don't know, like I usually give it an hour and a half, about an hour and 15 to an hour and a half, you know, to do this conversion on the starches. And then we got a couple things we can do while we're waiting on that. We'll get our apples ready. Okay? So we'll be back. Okay, so while we're waiting for our grains to do the convert, let's get some of our apples ready. I'm using 9 pounds of Gala apples. Taking the cores out. I've rinsed them all. And then what we'll do is put them in the fruit processor. Make a slurry out of it, and we'll put it into our sanitized fermenter over here. A lot of apples. what I usually do is just try to cut them up a little bit. Just easier for the brew processor to take care of it. Whoops. 9 pounds minus 1 piece. Now, if you watch my other apple whiskey that I made, I used a beer grain bill that I've been using. This time I'm using a typical whiskey grain bill, like I said. So I would like to compare. Alright. Alright. I found you gotta put a little bit of water in there to help it chew it up. Alright there. We'll just keep on going. Juicy apple. So this is kind of like a combination, like I said, between a brandy and a whiskey. Turned out fantastic last time. I'm gonna make a few little modifications, little changes, and then so it'll be like a recipe that's in the works. Okay, let me just... Okay, so let me get the rest of these done, and then I'll be back. Okay, here's the last of the apple. Whoops. I didn't want the blades to fall in, but they did. Okay, so that's the last of the apple. Alright, so like I said, the last is last of the apple, and what I'm going to add is 2 tablespoons of cinnamon to the mash. And 1/2 a tablespoon of nutmeg. Give that a little stir. Smells like an apple pie. Okay, so what I'll do next, let me see if I can let you get look at that. Nice slurry. Okay. Alright, so what I'll do next after the okay, so when my grains are finished mashing in, I'm going to drain them into this fermentation bucket, and we'll add yeast, and we'll go. So when it's done, it's probably got about another half hour, 45 minutes to go. I'll have to look at my timer, and I'll be back. Alright, let's do a iodine test. Get me a little bit of liquid out. Let me get your camera facing down here. Okay, so I got a little bit of liquid out of the fermenter. Let me put a drop of iodine in there. Swirl around. And it goes back to the color of the liquid that I got out of there. So I would say that the conversion has taken place. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to batch sparge our grains mash into the slurry of apple we got down there. And this is where you're kind of combining whiskey and brandy together. So what we'll do is we'll drain this off, and then we'll add some hot water, give her a stir, drain it again, until we collect up to about, I don't know, 6 gallons of mash here. It smells like apple pie in here. So as far as my grains, I collected about 6 gallons of mash here. Let's check this specific starting gravity. They get a little sample without a apple chunk in it. Alright, so we'll give us a little sample. Let's see what our starting gravity is. 1.085. Ah, that's perfect. The smell is amazing. I think it's going to turn out very nice. So once it cools down to about anything below 90, I'm going to add my yeast, which I'm using Red Star Distillers Active Dry Yeast. They call it Daddy. I use this a lot. It works very good. So we're going to let this ferment probably a week to 10 days. And then we'll distill it out. And I'm going to do this basically the same way that I did my other apple whiskey. I'm going to put some cinnamon sticks in the vapor trail just for a little extra flavor. I did add some cinnamon and all that, but I'll put cinnamon sticks in my gin basket. Let it distill up through that, and I think it's going to turn out fantastic. Okay, as a recap of what we did is first we sanitized our mash tun and everything, and then we added 170-degree water into our mash tun. We added in our grain, our corn, our grain, and we let that mash in for about 90 minutes. Okay, we did a iodine test, found out that the conversion from starches to sugar did take place. While we were waiting on that, we took 9 pounds of apples, we cored them, we run through a food processor, made a slurry out of it, all right, and added that into our fermentation bucket. We added some cinnamon and some nutmeg to that. And by the way, the smell was fantastic. And then what we did is we sparged our grains over into that fermentation bucket to collected about 6 gallons of mash. We checked it, our starting gravity, it was 1.085, which is fantastic. So we put it in our fermentation room. We're going to let it cool down to about anything below 90. Then we're going to add our Daddy's yeast, and we're going to let it ferment for a week to 10 days. I think this is going to be a fantastic, what do you want to call it? Well, I'm calling it apple pie whiskey. It's a hybrid. I'm really looking forward to this. Once we distill it out, we're going to treat it like a whiskey. We'll age it on some oak, and I think it will be fantastic. Okay, so I really want to thank you for coming by. Enjoy the adventure. We'll see you next time.